Light 'em up.
Let's go ahead and get settled in for our first debate, which will be on the topic of who will win the AFC North, featuring Brett and Calvin. So let me go ahead and invite them up to this as speakers. Brett, I just sent you an invite, and I got an invite coming your way as well as a speaker. All right, Brett, I see you here, buddy. How you doing?
Good, good. Good to be back on the show.
Yeah, happy to have you back on here. Calvin.
Yes, sir.
Hey guys, I'm doing great. Ready to
All
be
right.
back, ready to get started, and it's going to be a lot of
Awesome.
fun.
Well, gentlemen, thanks for coming. So it's time to debate some AFC North. So, Calvin, with you having the better overall record, 5-1 all time, you, my friend, get to choose if you want to start, meaning you'll get the first opening statement and the last closing statement, or defer, with you getting the last opening statement and first closing statement. What do you choose?
I'll get started.
Okay, so you elect to start. Your 2-minute opening statement starts now.
All right, coming off of last year's Super Bowl run, the Cincinnati Bengals are bound to easily capture the AFC North title, and the reasons are clear as day. It all starts with the man himself, Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty. The ice water in his veins is even colder than Ben Simmons from three-point range. He's as clutch as can be and already has taken the mantle as Cincy's franchise QB just 2 years into his career. And with him, you've got a top 3 rushing yards leader in Joe Mixon, who can also catch out of the backfield, a downfield monster in Jamar Chase, and a couple of quality receivers in T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Most would say that the Bengals' only weakness last year was their offensive line. But let's look at the enormous amount of capital that they just invested into that now incredibly potent unit. They bagged 3 young talented offensive linemen at bargains in free agency. They picked up Alex Kappa, La'el Collins, and Ted Karras in a mega haul. Add this now to an already on the rise left side of the line that includes third-year left tackle Jonah Williams and second-year guard Jackson Carman, and you've got a fully decked out offensive line with 5 very solid talents. There are now no weak spots on this Bengals offense, period. And they barely even lost anybody in free agency this offseason other than CJ Uzoma, a virtually meaningless tight end. And in the draft, since he focused on upgrading their already consistent unit, spending 5 of their 6 picks on the defensive side of the ball, including their first-rounder Dax Hill and second-rounder Cam Taylor-Britt being added as DBs, a rare position of need for the Bengals. Now with playmakers such as Jesse Bates in the secondary and Trey Hendrickson dominating on the defensive line, along with many others, it's hard to poke any holes in this defense other than Eli Apple, who unfortunately has been burnt repeatedly to the point of becoming a charred pile of ash. But he's going to be benched for Hill or Mike Hilton by week 5, and everything will be fine again, and the Bengals will be the ones to take down the AFC North. I can see the rest of my time.
All right. Thank you, Calvin, for that opening statement. Brett, you can come off of mute.
All right.
Your 2-minute opening statement starts now.
All right, I want to start off by saying I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so arguing for the Ravens is going to be a pretty hard thing to do. But I think it's pretty easy to say that the Ravens will win the AFC North this season, bearing any injuries. This is a team who had an 8-3 record in 2021 before the Lamar Jackson injury, and all but 2 of the losses they suffered last season were by less than 1 score, including a 1-point loss against the Super Bowl champion Rams, with a game in which the Ravens started Tyler Huntley at QB. This Ravens team has the most depth in the entire NFL, and they improved that even further in the draft by grabbing 2 of the best players at their position in safety Kyle Hamilton and center Tyler Linderbaum. They also got 2 great tight ends in the draft, Charlie Kolar and Isaiah Likely. A splash free agency signing that they made, signing Marcus Williams from the Saints. And this offense, this is a team that finished top 5 in rushing yards without their 2 best running backs last year, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. And they've built an offense and a defense to contend for a championship. The Bengals, on the other hand, not really too sure about that defense. They're going to have to score 35 points if they want to win every single game, it seems like, similar to how the Chiefs have been doing it, and it hasn't been working for the Chiefs as of late, so I'm not sure how it's going to work with the Bengals. But yeah, Ravens on top. That's all I got. I'll concede the rest of my time.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, gentlemen, for those opening statements, fiery opening statements, and I expect nothing less from you too. So let's go ahead and get to it, right? Crossfire, 10 minutes starts now. Light them up, gentlemen.
All right, Brett, you want to get started?
Yeah, sure. So I know that the Ravens got swept last year by the Bengals, but I feel like one of them doesn't count because what's that guy's name? Josh Johnson was starting at quarterback. This Ravens team, they had guys playing off the street last year, and they still managed to only finish one game under 500.
Okay, well, I mean, you're saying they have a lot of depth, but at the same time, they did finish 8-9 and miss the playoffs. Obviously, again, you're right, without Lamar Jackson for a few games, but they still had him for the majority of the season. You're talking back on October 24th, this Ravens team, with Jackson starting, they got blown out 41-17 by the Bengals, so I don't see how the Ravens are stepping up. With or without Lamar Jackson, just because they don't have the playmakers around him that Burrow has. The Bengals rocked this Ravens defense, put up a ton of points, and they just basically filled their two biggest holes in offensive line and at cornerback. So, I mean, they're pretty much fine in that department, and they already showed they're the superior team last year in my eyes.
Also, I'll say this. A lot of people were roasting the Ravens for not picking a wide receiver, but if you look at the way the first round went, they could have drafted the sixth best receiver with their first overall pick. Look at the Commanders. They took Jahan Dotson in the first round. Would you rather have the on the board or like the number 7 receiver? That's why they took Kyle Hamilton. And James Prochet, those guys, I'm sick of hearing people talk about them. Those guys are more than ready. They just need a chance. They can thrive in that offense.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, that's true. The Linderbaum pick was a good pick in the first round. Not doubting that at all. But yes, the Ravens have had a potent running attack now for years. And what's really been helping their running backs is, of course, having Lamar Jackson there, because you never know who's going to run the ball. And it's very easy to be efficient. I mean, Dobbins, at the end of his rookie year, averaging like 6 yards a carry for that stretch because he was being ridiculous in that potent running offense. But they've had this, and they've had Lamar for multiple years and haven't been able to get out of really the divisional round of the playoffs ever. Meanwhile, you see Joe Burrow take this team from 4-12, and then as soon as he gets a playmaker, he takes them to the Super Bowl. And this team they haven't gotten worse in the offseason. They've gotten much better. Like I said, like you look at whatever it's called, Spot Track. Their highest paid player that left this offseason was CJ Uzomah. Like, didn't lose anybody. They added guys in the draft. They added 3 O-linemen. So what's there to stop now? I mean, the only reason Joe Burrow had any sort of struggles last year was because his offensive line was gone. Now they have their 2 young guys actually paired with some competent players on the right side of the line. So I don't see what's stopping this team. I don't see how they're not even better than the Ravens than they already were last year.
It's just going to be tough. They're going to have to put up like 40 points a game if they want to win. I mean, their defense, not the greatest. I know they filled a couple holes, but I mean, it might take a few games for those guys to get adjusted and gain some chemistry.
I don't know. I think this defense is pretty underrated. And, I mean, let's take a look at that defense. You got Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. They're on the line. Trey Hendrickson already established himself as a upper-tier defensive end in the NFL, in my opinion. He's going to get a good contract very, very soon because he was consistently getting pressure. He's no J.J. Watt, but, I mean, he was consistently getting to the QB. I want to say he was around double-digit sacks last year. Then they had a nice little linebacker core with Logan Wilson, who was just a consistent playmaker and a consistent guy who could play pass coverage or just do whatever, just like a nice key cog in there. And then in their secondary, like I said, their biggest hole was corner. Eli Apple is still the starter on this team, maybe not for long, because they now have 2 guys that they drafted. Then they have Mike Hilton as well. So there's like 5 corners who are now starting caliber or close to starting caliber, and 4 if you don't count Apple. Then there's Chidobe Awuzie. Then there's Jesse Bates, who's one of the best free safeties in the league. And then Von Bell as well. That's a nice pairing. And overall, I mean, you say maybe this defense doesn't have a ton of star power. I think Trey Hendrickson is a very, very good player anyway, but the fact is they just have enough solid guys all around to where they were an above-average unit last year, and again, they haven't gotten any worse. They've retained pretty much everybody, and now got a couple more corners in the draft.
I think the same thing could be said about the Ravens defense being solid, though, all around the board. That secondary, Marcus Peters, Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams, Marlon Humphrey. Like, Chuck Clark isn't even a starter anymore. He's been starting for, like, the last 3 years. They just totally replaced him, and he's still there, too. Justin Houston, Odafe Owe, Patrick Queen. The line, too, Calais Campbell. He's a veteran. He makes splash plays all the time. Michael Pierce, Justin Madupi. I don't even know how to say his name. I seen him make a couple plays last year. I think this defense with the Ravens, I think they have a more complete team if you pair the offense and defense together. More built to contend than, say, the Bengals.
Well, what have the Ravens done this offseason? I mean, what they're going to have done is get some guys back from injury, which is great. But this is now multiple years that we've seen the Ravens have to suffer through these injuries. And you may be right. Like, I think for defenses, Ravens have probably got a bit more star power, and they're better because, I mean, at corner, they've got that clear edge with Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey. I'm not going to deny that. But the fact is, no corner was locking down Jamar Chase last year. No corner is locking down a guy who's one of the best deep threats in the NFL, a great contested catch receiver who, like, averaged, I think it was, like, 36 yards, like, on all of his 13 touchdowns. Like, that was his average length of touchdown, was, like, 36 yards. Nobody's stopping him downfield. So he's absolutely ridiculous. And then, again, this defensive line, line, it's pretty good, but you've got an old guy in Calais Campbell. Michael Pierce, he's solid as a defensive tackle, I suppose, but I mean, it's a 3-4 defense, and I don't see how that's going to get consistent pressure unless you get some really creative blitzes with linebackers. But against this upgraded defensive line, I feel like now the one thing the Ravens really had over the Bengals, which was their pass rush, which maybe could get to Joe Burrow a lot last year, that's not happening anymore. And even last year, we saw the Bengals just come in and blow out this team. They're a team that's capable of putting up 30 to 40 any given week.
So let me cut in here for a second. We got about 4 minutes left here. I want to ask a question, and I see Easy Manelli brought this up, but Brett, about Lamar Jackson's contract. Obviously, we saw what happened with Deshaun Watson, a couple of these huge contracts for players, quarterbacks coming into this offseason. What do you think that pressure about him being the final year of his rookie deal will do for him? Will it help the team? Will it hurt him?
I think it'll motivate him to play better. A lot of guys you hear about playing better in their contract years, and I think that's exactly what will happen with Lamar Jackson. Unless he gets the deal done maybe before the season, maybe that'll help him even more.
I mean, we'll see. You may be right about that, but at the same time, I would say the equal amount of motivation comes from the dude who just lost the Super Bowl. He wants to get back there more than anything. We all know that. He came in on top of the world. I thought the Bengals were actually going to go ahead and take down that Super Bowl, but in the end, wasn't able to come through. But I mean, in his second year, the clutch ability that he demonstrated throughout the playoffs to just take this team to the Super Bowl. This is a incredibly young team that is on the rise and made it to the Super Bowl, some said a year too early. But then when you really look at the roster and now look at the guys they've added this offseason, it's hard to pick holes in this team. And Jamar Chase is probably now a top 5 receiver in the NFL already. Joe Mixon was 3rd in rushing last year. He's one of the top RBs. So you're looking at an offense that's one of the best in the league. This defense may be borderline top 10 now. And what we've shown is that really in the NFL in recent years, it's offense that wins championships, and it's the quarterback with rare exceptions, and Cincinnati's got all of it.
So I don't see them making it back.
So Calvin, just a question for you about that offensive line. You know, Burrow got sacked, I believe it was 7 times or 7 times in the Super Bowl. Do you think that Cincy has made the appropriate moves to protect their quarterback going into this season and try to make themselves back to Super Bowl?
Absolutely. They did more for the offensive line than any team this offseason. They got some bargains in that $6, $7, $8 million range per year to where you see those offensive linemen, when they're signed at that price, they're able to come in and become just quality guys who are just holding up the line and keeping it stable. And that's really all that's needed. So it transformed this unit into from a bottom 5-1. Now you've got guys like Jonah Williams and Jackson Carman who can actually block when on the other side of the line, it's not just getting obliterated every single time. So those guys will play better, and the offensive line functions as a unit, as we all know. I mean, when you get guys on the line who are more stable instead of just the same old dudes who can't block, it's going to help the rest of the dudes. It's going to elevate all their play. And this Bengals offensive line is probably now above average versus it was really, you're right, atrocious last year. They improved it a ton.
90 seconds remaining, gentlemen.
You look at the Ravens offensive line too. They had a pretty bad unit last year, but they lost Alejandro Villanueva to retirement. They replaced him with Morgan Moses. And with a top 5 rushing offense, they've had a top 5 rushing offense since 2018. I think they have the 3rd most efficient offense in the NFL, only trailing the Chiefs and Packers since 2018. I don't know. It's going to be tough. I think I could see this team sweeping the Bengals, though. It's just they're going to be score fests, no doubt. I could see both games ending up in the 30s. Yeah, I don't know.
I just don't see how the Ravens keep pace, though, with that rushing offense.
Uzama, though, I know you're talking about how Uzama wasn't a big loss for them. I think he was a big part of their offense in that postseason run.
Okay, well, I mean, they added Hayden Hurst, so, I don't know. I mean, I'm fine. Sure, he was a very slight loss, but, you're not talking about something essential to this offense when they already have 3 great receivers on this team, including Chase. And, again, it's not like Burrow just has that one dude. There's Higgins, there's Boyd. Many teams even struggle to find one competent receiver, but Burrow, I mean, he has 3, very competent guys, and I think Higgins is really in that very, very good tier to where he could be a solid wide receiver 1 for another team, and he was solid in his rookie year in that role.
15 seconds.
So if you look at the Ravens offense, they're going to have a lot of formations with 3 tight ends. That'll get a lot of the attention off Rashad Bateman. I think Rashad Bateman will have a big year for the Ravens and maybe carry them to that number 1 seed.
And that is time. Thank you, gentlemen, for that rousing Crossfire segment. Calvin, I'll invite you to go on mute. As Brett, your 2-minute closing statement starts now.
Not a lot to say. Just I hope the Ravens can pull out the AFC North this year. Not really, though, because I'm a Steelers fan. But once again, this team was the number 1 seed in the whole AFC before Lamar's injury last year. If this team can stay healthy, I see them winning the AFC North. especially with the additions they made in the draft and in free agency, like Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum, Marcus Williams, signing or drafting 2 backup tight ends as well, Charlie Kolar and Isaiah Likely. If this team can just keep up what they've been doing, but do it at the for a full season and stay healthy, I see them winning the North, while the Bengals, with their struggling defense, will probably have to put up 35 points if they want to have a chance at winning most of their games. And also, all the receiver stuff, everyone's saying the Ravens don't have a wide receiver 2, the Ravens don't have a wide receiver 2. Well, it's a tight end focused offense. Look at Mark Andrews' numbers last year. They were amazing. They're going to be amazing again. Giancarlo Stanton just hit a home run for the Yankees, and I yield my time.
All right. Thank you, Brett. You can go on mute. Calvin, you can come off of mute, my friend, and your 2-minute closing statement starts now.
I just think that there's not much that the Ravens have over the Bengals. Like, when you look at quarterback play, Joe Burrow versus Lamar Jackson, one's much better at running the football, one's probably a better pure passer. Maybe they're equal, but the fact is, Lamar hasn't been able to get it done when it counts in the playoffs and hasn't been able to stay healthy consistently. Burrow, he got injured in his rookie year, so maybe that's not a fair comparison. But he came back second year and led this team from 4-12 to a Super Bowl. I would trust Joe Burrow to take my team to a Super Bowl far before I trust Lamar Jackson, and that's no debate in my eyes. You look at the running game, now Joe Mixon actually has some dudes to run behind, but Joe Mixon, he was on the field for so many snaps, like he was one of the snap leaders for RB last year, and just putting up such great numbers. He can catch the ball too, we shouldn't forget. There were a number of third downs where he would just catch it, run 10 or 15 yards, and it was perfect for this team to move the chains. Then at wide receiver, that's one of the best groups in the league. Incredibly young. Jamar Chase is already top 5, maybe top 3. T. Higgins, great route runner as well. And then Tyler Boyd is just consistently there in the slot. A number 3 receiver that so many teams would just like to have as maybe even their top safe option. But they've got him, they've just got so many weapons. And again, this offensive line rebooted. There's no holes in the offensive line anymore. I mean, their youngest dude is Carmen, who showed good flashes last year. Williams is already a quality guy. And then they signed 3 proven vets to this line. So there's nothing to pick at there. On the defensive side, once again, talent all over. Trey Hendrickson, an up-and-coming pass rusher. They added guys to their cornerback group. Maybe the Ravens have a slightly better defense once again, but their calling card, their pass rush, that's not going to work out against this new Bengals offensive line. And Jamar Chase and T. Higgins have shown the ability to torch anybody. It's always one of them going off in any particular game. If one of them's locked up, the other one steps up. That's what's going to happen. Bengals are coming back. I wouldn't be surprised if they head to the Super Bowl again.
All right. And right there at the buzzer. Thank you, gentlemen. For an outstanding debate to get our 3rd season started off. Let me see. I got the voting link. Here we go. It is dropped. I've opened it. And so you all may proceed to start voting. And Brett and Calvin, you all can come off of mute here. Brett, I will say, I think I can say this without swaying the debate, but I will say that I was surprised that you, as a Steelers fan, was going for anybody in the AFC North other than the Steelers. But I'm glad you're not a delusional fan. I'll say that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I could not. I mean, if you look at the Steelers, they're like our offensive line. None of them have really played any games together, and then having a new quarterback come in and still having a terrible offensive coordinator. I couldn't argue for the Steelers.
That's fair. All right. Well, let's look here at the live stats here. There are 7 you all in attendance. There are 7 votes here. Ooh, a close one. 57.1 versus 42.9 in favor of Brett. Congratulations, Brett. You remain undefeated. You go to 2-0 all time and start out season 3 with your with the win. Congratulations, sir. And Calvin, thank you for being a worthy competitor.
Awesome. Yeah, great debate. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
All right, gentlemen.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks again. And we'll definitely see you all around on season 3.
Hey guys, it's Lily Schumacher. When I'm not debating, you can find me hosting Pitches Be Crazy every Thursday night at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, and co-hosting Bat Flips and Chill with John Ball every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, live on Colorcast. Thank you so much for listening to Light 'em Up. Now, let's get back to the action.
Now we're going to take things to the baseball diamond, as we'll debate, should the MLB adopt robot umps? And to debate this topic, I will invite to the stage Mr. Jake and Mr. RCMilton. Let's go ahead and get them settled in here. All right. I see you got Jake here. I got RC here. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Doing great. Jake, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Enjoying my nice weather. How about you, RC? How's it up there in Canada?
Oh, all is well. Went to the TFC game. They lost. Watching the baseball game as I prepare for the debate. They lost.
All right.
So
Hopefully that's not an omen for anything for you, RC.
yeah. Oh God.
Hopefully it is.
hope
For my
not.
sake, I hope it is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I recall correctly, Jake and I did debate one time before. He
Again.
was studying for exams.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
hopefully he had a big distraction for this week as well.
I don't think I did. Besides my camp counselor job, but that doesn't happen on the weekends.
I see.
So no distractions here. RC, that game is over, right? The Jays game is over?
Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. So everyone's undivided and give their full attention to what should be a good debate here about, again, whether the MLB should adopt robot umps. So to make sure I got this right, RC, you will be arguing for this motion, meaning that the MLB should introduce robot umps, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Jake, you are against it. No robot umps from your standpoint. Okay.
That is correct.
All right. So now that we got that out of the way, RC, you do have the better record all time at 2-1. So you, my friend, get to choose to start or defer. Start meaning that you can get the first opening statement, last closing statement. Defer is the opposite. So what do you choose?
I will go first.
You will go first. Okay. So with that being said, Jake, you can go on mute. RC, your 2-minute opening statement starts now, my friend.
Baseball. The first sport I attended to as a fan, and over the years, I, like the rest of you, have learned the cherished history this game has generated. It's easy to say that all sports have history, but does a sport have the history of 1947 when integration began with Jackie Robinson's first game, the 1920s and 30s with the legacy of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, facilities like Fenway Park being built the week the Titanic sank. If a sport gets labeled as a sport of history, it's definitely baseball and everything involving the major leagues. However, America's pastime has gone through a couple of tweaks and will lead to its greatest change, that being the use of robot umpires. The reason why is obvious. The criticism from fans and media of umpires making bad calls behind the plate is taking away the most important aspect of the game itself, and that is the game itself. Major League Baseball reports the strike zone is from the shoulders to the top of the kneecaps over home plate, and we can attest the number of times strikes have been called when balls are away from the plate, called too high, called too low, maybe when they should have been balls. And when there's as many as 200-300 pitches thrown at a game, any person is bound to get one call wrong. I am for the use of robot umpires because I am tired to hear of all the blown calls that are made behind the plate and all the stare downs from batters and pitchers, and more importantly, all the ejections that have taken place, which is all could be remedied by this one easy to fix problem. Whether this is relevant or not, baseball has went along with changes that have helped the game. DH in the National League, interleague play. If you don't like it, then that must mean you must not like the Subway Series and that DHs can hit over the Mendoza line, unlike most pitchers. One conclusion is that Major League Baseball has a tendency of having different strike zones from person to the next. Since every inch makes a difference, you have to admit pitches are called one way or the other, depending on the umpire you get, which destroys the consistency of the game. I was once a believer.
That is time. Save all those great thoughts, though, RC, for the crossfire, my friend.
Yes, sir.
All right. Jake, you come off of mute, sir, and your 2-minute opening statement starts now.
Speaking of a Subway Series, go Mets. Mets are winning that series. Don't at me. But to the debate, umpires are part of the game. Okay, as someone who umpires part time in the summers, MLB does not need, and baseball all around does not need robot umpires. Okay, Rob Manfred has ruined the game enough with everything he's done, from not getting along with the owners and the players, and having players having no respect for him, causing the lockout, all these other stupid rule changes he's put on. He has single-handedly ruined the game. Rob, my friend, not my friend because I don't like him. Don't do this. Don't ruin it anymore. Okay? And also, in the NFL, the referees are egregious. They are, in my opinion, even worse than the MLB umpire. They are egregious. We're going 5-6 years running on just every game. There's too many flags. They make calls that shouldn't be calls. They don't put a flag when it should be. Meanwhile, I have not heard one...
1 minute remaining.
Okay. I have not heard one concern or thought or comment about robot umpires in the NFL. Why not? Simply because everyone knows it's stupid, and it's stupid in MLB too. And also, could you imagine an umpire staying back there and all he's doing is just relaying the electronic strike zone. Like I saw a video once, like an umpire was like he didn't think it was a strike, so he like hesitated, but the robot strike zone said it was a strike. So like, what if they don't agree with the robot strike zone? It's gonna be awkward, and like they're not gonna know what to do, and it's gonna cause confusion, and it's gonna ruin the game even more than it is when an umpire makes a bad call. Okay, it's gonna ruin it even more. So. And also, like, it's just going to be the plate guys, it's going to be the base guys. That could be problematic. You've already had all these other rules, like the pitch clock and the ghost runner coming off, the shift ban coming. No more rule changes. It's too complicated. No robot umps.
All right, and that is time. Thank you, gentlemen, for those spicy opening statements. You both can come off of mute. And I'll start you guys off with a question I've been thinking about since you guys agreed to do this debate. But what do you think about how the importance of the role of the catcher, with pitch framing, and just the overall impact of the catcher position, how that will be impacted with or without robot umps coming in? So start off with that one, whoever wants to go first.
With pitch framing and so on, I mean, I think it'll be a thing of the past. And if they do have robot umpires, which I am definitely for, because the human element and human error is something that has to be eliminated. I mean, for such an important aspect of this particular sport, umpires have about 200 to 300 times to mess up. And it is going to be a huge black eye for baseball if in the ninth inning, a human error is responsible for a major component of a championship series, for example.
All right, my turn. When it comes to pitch framing is very important, okay? Most teams would rather a catcher be an excellent pitch framer but hit 200 than have a catcher who might give you 20 home runs, but they can't defend. That's why I think I like the Mets having a guy like James McCann. He might be hitting 170, but his pitch framing is on point. And if you take away, human umpires, that's not going to be a thing. Is it really going to matter? Because you got the robot saying strike, ball, like right by the box. And like MLB, the big problem with MLB is that it's not entertaining. The game is too long. The viewership is going down. The viewership is, the average age is a lot older than all the other sports. It's like 53 or 54. All the other sports are like much lower than that. And MLB's trying to get that number down. They have been for years, and they've been very unsuccessful at it.
But Jake, you would concede that by eliminating human umpires, that the game could get shortened, albeit fractionally, without the staring down from players and pitchers, arguing, and eventual ejections.
That brings me to my next point. I don't love that. I don't love the whole speeding up the game thing. Let the game be. Like the pitch clock they're putting in next year, okay, fine. It's working the Myers, fine. Just because Rob wants it, just let him get this one thing. That's the last thing he gets before hopefully he goes away. But I don't like speeding up the game. Just let the game be. There's other ways that you can do with it. And I don't think robot umps is one of them. It's more entertaining when you see these guys, those stare down guys, and they get in fights. And then so the MLB that's already is not entertaining at all. Now we're going to make it less entertaining by taking away the players and the umpire interaction. Is that really smart?
But define entertainment. I mean, like, is it entertainment to hear how Angel Hernandez keeps on screwing up calls and how useless Joe West is? I mean, you're focusing on 50 to 70-year-old umpires who are not who can't make a call right. Nobody is so enamored with the consistency and professionalism and accuracy of any umpire out there. But they are more so worried about how umpires continue to get calls wrong and are just it takes up so much post-game conclusions and post-game shows with how calls get screwed up. That's not helping the game.
Let me chime in. Well, Jay, go ahead and respond to that. Then I'll ask another question. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say, but I like that. It gives me more stuff to talk about. As someone who's a sports communications major and is looking to follow in the footsteps of Pat McAfee, not only because of how good he is on TV, he also makes over $10 million a year, which of course I would love.
Is that right? Good for him.
Yeah, and that would help me finance my student loan for sure. Anyway, back to the debate. I like that. It creates more conversation. That is entertaining for me. And like I do think that umpires should be held accountable. And other umpires that should go away. Yes, Andrew Hernandez, I am looking at you. Go to just go another state at this point. No one wants you around. So yes, hold umpires more accountable. The way the umpires are graded, and they are graded, the scale is so lenient that like even if they make like 20 or 30 bad calls, there really was nothing that could possibly happen to them. It's almost
Jake,
like
let me ask a serious question. What year
okay.
were you? What year were you born?
2002.
Okay, so before in 1999, I
Okay.
distinctly remember watching the Diamondbacks and the New York Mets when when there was a call against the Mets, and it was a ball hit to left field that this was back in Shea Stadium where a ball was hit to left field. It was called a foul ball. It was supposed to be a ground rule double in the playoffs, and umpire called it foul. It was a ground rule double, and it was crucial in obviously this was the playoffs. Cookie Rojas was the third base umpire. He went ballistic and even pushed the umpire. Would you call that fun? As a Mets fan, if you saw that and the screw up of this magnitude, would you call that fun? Because in obviously today's game, if Major League Baseball had the challenge system and if the New York Mets had the challenge, they would have been able to overturn that. The New York Mets would have won that call, maybe won the game, maybe won the World Series, fat chance. But you get my point.
I mean, yes, as a Mets fan, I wouldn't have liked it, but that's part of the game. Like, I'm sure Saints fans weren't happy when before the ball even got there, Roby Coleman absolutely obliterated the Saints wide receiver. I'm surprised the Saints receiver didn't get a concussion from that hit. But everyone else who's not, of course, Saints fans always cry, "Oh, we don't win the Super Bowl," but everyone else laughs at it, and like. So if every other team besides one team, is laughing at it, it creates more discussion. I'm for that.
With that Saints play and everything that happened, which what you're referring to, I mean, you could attest to the fact that that game was focused at the end by an egregious call, and sports cannot survive if they have referees and umpires making bad calls. Look at the sports that have excelled. Let's take a look at football.
Gentlemen, let me with about 3 minutes left here, let me bring this back towards MLB and throw out this question.
I do have an example of MLB.
You're gonna that's an example of MLB. Okay, go ahead,
okay.
RC.
And with due respect to my guy Patrick Rush, how does Armando Galarraga feel right now? Because it was because of his call, and it was because of the call of Jim Joyce. Umpire was Joyce, who and we all know about the imperfect game. And it was because of that replay has taken place in Major League Baseball, which has helped in terms of the consistency of the game. So you have to say that you can't rely on the umpires and referees getting it right all the time. And that will not help a sport excel.
So I still want to ask my question here. With about 2 minutes remaining, gents. If umpires were given an audit right on their balls and strikes after every game, after every season that was publicly available, would you still keep the same stance of allowing or not permitting robotic umps if there was a public audit of their calls every day, like ump scorecard does on Twitter?
So, like, you're saying it shows like the calls that they miss, like the percentage of calls that were right. It shows like the ground. I think I would still be in favor. Like, it depends on like as someone who knows baseball, I know a good amount of umpires. I'm an umpire myself, so I tend to follow some of these umpires. When Andrew Hernandez is behind the plate, I know, all right, he's gonna have about 30 missed calls. That's gonna happen. When Paul Clemens. I heard that. A rookie Paul Clemens behind the plate for the Met game the other night. Rookie umpires all suck because they just don't have. They
and
all
you want
suck.
this to continue?
and I do want to continue. They all suck. All rookies suck. I know Pat Rush is like the co-producer, whatever you want to call him. His guy Spencer Torkelson's hit like 190. He sucks. All rookies suck.
But as sports fans, every single person on this app does not have a top three. Like, they are not enamored. Nobody goes to a sporting event to watch the umpires do their thing. So, you're talking, I mean, this just proves the point even more that you're going to go to a game, you're going to invest in tickets, you're going to hope that that your team could make the championship game, and which could eventually get railroaded because of umpires beyond balls and strikes. Take a look at there was Google the 1985 World Series when it came to
I got to stop it there. We might to talk about this more and cool them down, because this was good. This is definitely good. Okay. So let me remember. RC, you opened. So Jake, you get to do your 2-minute closing statement, and that starts now.
All right. So umpires are simply part of the game. You cannot take umpires out of the game. Okay, you just can't. MLB has been ruined enough. And yes, bad calls suck. They suck. When you lose on a bad call or it contributes to your team losing, it sucks. But it's part of the game. It's part of the game. Deal with it. And I think it's more entertaining when RC's talking about, it takes up too much time in the post game. I like that. It creates more things to talk about in the post game. I like entertainment. I like discussion. I like that. So, and just they are part of the game. You can't take them out of the game. And MLB's taken so much things out of the game. They took away you can't take a picture after they throw to one guy. They're taking away the shift next year. They keep putting the ghost runner in, putting the ghost runner out. They keep changing the extra inning rule. Now you can't put certain things on the baseball. You can't grip the baseball a certain way now. Enough of these rule changes. That's why MLB sucks now. Enough of these pathetic and stupid rule changes. Stop trying to ruin the game. Stop trying to speed up the game. Right? Pitch clock is one thing, but stop trying to speed up the game. I am more than happy to sit down and watch a 3 to 4 hour baseball game. Okay, I love baseball, and people that love baseball will agree with me. To the casual fans, maybe not, but that's why they're casual fans, because they're not true fans. Who cares about them? They could all go away. Okay, I don't have anything else to say, but umpires need to remain in the game. Whenever they make a bad call, honestly, it's funny. I'm conceding the rest of my time. I'm done with this.
All right. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah.
All right, RC.
I like that.
RC, your closing statement, your 2-minute closing statement starts now.
What's more important? Robot umpires or the human element of calling balls and strikes behind the plate? Ladies and gentlemen, take your pick. As much as I have love for my man Jake, he hasn't convinced me that robot umpires will not do anything other than enhance the legitimacy of baseball operations. Gone are the days of complaining of how useless Joe West and Angel Hernandez are, and enter this new era where your team and mine did or did not complete the task at hand. It is obvious that sports have improved with technology, confirming calls that have been questioned. Look at hockey with instant replay. Look at tennis with Hawkeye technology, where fans are even getting involved, chanting as the challenge in tennis takes place, as well as football. I mean, watch a football game and tell me that that you are not hoping that your coach throws the challenge flag as they are listening, as debated calls are being challenged. This is something that needs to happen in baseball, because look at in terms of we could go on and on about missed calls within this great game, and I want to see the home run that is hit at the bottom of the ninth. I want to see the pickoff that takes place to end the game. I do not want to think about how useless Don Denkinger is in the 1985 World Series, that he couldn't call a proper ground ball in the World Series when the Cards were up 3-1. By the way, they did not win that World Series. I am a traditionalist like the next guy. Robot umpires need to happen in Major League Baseball. I can see my time.
All right. Okay. There's so much I want to say about this, but I don't want to sway the debate.
Yeah.
So
Silence.
Yes. So I'm just going to drop these voting links in here and let the audience take it from here. All right. And that link should now be open.
Jake, as always, good job. And the pleasure is all mine, my friend.
Same here, RC. That was a lot of fun as always. You never know. Maybe we'll keep going if the show will have me back.
Yeah, do me a favor. Do it during exam week. Okay.
My midterms will probably be November-ish.
Excellent. We could talk maybe about World Cup soccer or something. That's happening.
Which we should not be talking about in November. We should be talking about that now. We should be doing debates about the World Cup now.
I know nothing about soccer, so I might pass on that.
Perfect. Let's do it. Pick me.
All I know is that I want the USA team to win, and like the guys I know I don't even think are on the team anymore.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I'm loving this banter. We'll definitely keep it going on Cool Them Down. The votes are in. RC, you win with 77% of the vote. Congratulations. You now move to 3-1 all time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And we'll see both you and Jake, I'm sure, throughout the rest of season 3. Thank you both for coming on this evening.
Hey guys, James Fleming here, host of the Pig Pen Thursdays at 9 Eastern Time, where we talk mostly lists. We compare a lot of top 10s. Also host the Gamble and Ramble show Sundays before football every week. Stay tuned for more Light 'em Up.
Are you not entertained, Light 'em Up audience? 2 really good debates to get into start off season 3, our 26th episode, and now we're going to bring it home with the topic that I'm sure is front and center right now with the likes of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and these superstars forcing trades. So we're going to debate, what is the impact of NBA players forcing trades? Does it help the team? Is it negative for the player? I'm not going to make those cases, though. I have 2 wonderful individuals in Wolmer, and let's see here. Adrian should be on. Yep, there he is. All right. I'm going to bring on Adrian and Wolmer. Adrian is making his Light 'em Up debut this evening. So, Adrian, I see you're on. Welcome to the show for the very first time.
Thank you
Happy
so
to
much
have
for
you here.
having me.
Let's go, AJ. Let's bring the heat, baby. Bring that heat.
Hey, congratulations on the last 2 seasons, Wolmer.
Thank you.
Wolmer, you have the better record all time at 8-2. So you get to decide if you want to start or defer. What is your selection?
I would love to start, please.
Okay. So you will start. AJ, you can go on mute, my friend. Wolmer, your 2-minute opening statement starts now.
All right, good luck.
Good luck, AJ. All right, so my overall stance is that this is going to be much worse on management than it really is for anything. Let me make this point very clear. Management's job is to build a team through drafting, free agents, and trading that will go out and win basketball games and in the end, ultimately, hopefully win a championship. It is not their job to have to deal with players demanding trades, wanting to get out, because in the end, unless they were traded against their will, which there is a rule where if they refuse a trade, they don't have to go, or no trade or no movement clause, then it's not their job to worry about it. Right now, we are seeing players with just too much power. They think that they want what they want, they can get out. And right now, we're seeing it very much with Kevin Durant, who is pretty much done with the Brooklyn Nets. It's hard for management to really deal with this kind of thing because they're not preparing for any of this. They are expecting the next season to go through fluidly. They know what players coming back, what players need to go after to re-sign, what players they might want to go into free agency and get. Instead, players are wanting out, wanting trades. Now management has to kind of shift their whole entire mindset to getting these players to a different team that they might be happier with, while also getting back a return that will make them very happy
30
to help the
seconds.
team as well. I'm just saying that management should not be responsible for finding players new teams, and players just have too much power, thinking that they can request trades and think that they can just leave a team, especially when they have a commitment. And Durant did last offseason sign a 4-year extension, which is yet to kick in. If he wasn't sure about his future, he would never have signed it.
All right. And right up on time. Wolmer, thank you for that opening statement. AJ, you can come off mute, my friend, and your 2-minute opening statement starts now.
All right, thank you. Powerful statement, Wolmer. Gonna put you that. But we all need to know that basketball is a team sport. And yes, sometimes there will be ups and downs between players and coaches and with people within the organizations. But nowadays, from what we see in the media and things that we see on social media, is that if something does not go within a player's or a coach's way, that automatically turns their heads against the team that they are supporting or representing. A perfect example would be, Kyrie Irving. If something, he even promised that he would resign with the Celtics, and he even said himself that he wanted to be like his own representation of an NBA basketball team. And he said that while he was in Cleveland,
One
with
minute
LeBron
remaining.
James. But then, when he shifted teams, over to the Celtics, he said himself that there needs to be veterans within this team to help, push the balance within the team, But then he said like there need to be a veteran. So that does not make a whole lot of sense to me. You said yourself that you wanted to be you wanted to carry a team by yourself, but then you said that there needs to be like a veteran to help push the team along. Like that to me like confuses me. And we saw this past season, with Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart leading the Celtics teams
15
to the
seconds.
NBA Finals. And while Kyrie Irving was on that team, Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart were young. So that tells what a lot of players focus tensions on within this topic as well.
All right. And that is time. Thank you, AJ, for the opening statement. Wolmer, you
Thank you.
can come off of mute.
Well, I just
right.
want to bring up one thing in the chat. Zach, I do agree with you. KD will still be a net. Just say. It has nothing to do with it. I just agree with it.
All right, gentlemen. So your 10 minutes of Crossfire starts now. Light them up.
All right. AJ, come off mute.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
All right. Sorry, hold me to this.
You're good.
All good, man.
Yeah, this is his debut, but I'm gonna make this very, very clear. This needs to be mentioned right off. It needs the biggest statement here. Players have a commitment that they sign by their contract. They obviously get multiple offers to go to any team they want. They chose the team that they signed to. They shouldn't be all upset if they don't get what they want and the team doesn't turn out to be the way they expected. Kevin Durant was the most recent player, as he said, to request a trade. Why should we be all sympathetic for him and say that he wants out, especially when he was pretty much the guy that put this team together? He was the guy who lured Steve Nash to be their head coach. He was the kind of the guy that teamed up with Kyrie Irving to put this team together. If they really were upset with what the team they're putting out there, and it was a team that was actually playing winning basketball and they did make the postseason, then how can you be upset and request a trade? Maybe it could be something family related, which always does have an issue, which Duncan Keith in the NHL last year got the trade approved because he just wanted to be closer to his family for family reasons. I don't exactly know what. But when you make a commitment, sign up for all this money, you shouldn't be able to request a trade and get yourself out of that team. You are there for your time. If you're not sure of your future, don't sign the extension, which Kevin Durant obviously did. It's not management's job to now all of a sudden say, yep, we signed him to this extension. Now he doesn't want to be here. If he didn't want to be here in the first place, why offer him the extension? Why be that team that goes and be like, hey, here's your money. Oh, now we're going to trade you away. It's not that simple. If management doesn't like him and thinks they can find somebody else for a better fit, then that's a different story. But this is him requesting for a trade. He signed this extension. He should be made to oblige by it. AJ, still there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Put in your thoughts.
Well, yeah, I can definitely see that, yeah, and sometimes it doesn't have to do with like how a season went, Like, yeah, there will be some times where things did not go a certain player's way, and which is going to upset them most of the time. We have seen that with teams like the Lakers as well as the Rockets, and maybe even the 76ers if you count Ben Simmons. And also most of the things that comes out of like demanding trades is like increasing like their pay salaries, like trying to get like a boatload of money, try and like they're gonna look at each team's look at what they're offering. Maybe it has to do with like the talent or maybe the paying load that they're getting off within these teams. I
do agree. I agree. Players should take a pay cut if they really want to put together a winning team. You shouldn't be being paid what KD is making his first year, $43 million. And then eventually when he's 37, making almost a quarter of what NBA salary is at $53 million. They shouldn't be doing that. If you want to put it together a winning team, take a pay cut. we've seen many players take a pay cut to help put a winning team together. Look no further than the Colorado Avalanche that just went on to win a Stanley Cup. Nathan McKinnon, I think, is making like $6.5 million a year for what is a top 5, if not 10, if not 5 player in the NHL. He wants to win a cup. He wants to make sure that they have enough money to go and dish out for other stars to help bring them in. But this is a different case scenario. You're looking at Kevin Durant, who was being paid all this money. Now management is having to focus and moving him to get a good return in. There were rumors that they wanted Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards, including 4 first-round picks from the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are so busy doing that it's taking their focus away what is really important right now and putting a team together with what they have right now, because they're trying to focus on getting other players in now for Kevin Durant. You don't know what you're getting. You should be happy with what you have there and try to build around there, but now because Kevin Durant wants out, their whole entire focus shifts elsewhere. It's not in the same area where it should be. You're looking at Kawhi Leonard. Don't forget, he requested a trade out of the San Antonio Spurs, which he called home for 8-9 years, a team he won a championship with.
Oh, I definitely, yes. I can definitely.
About 5 minutes left, gentlemen. So let me put this question out here. I think out of all like the major professional sports leagues, NBA teams have the smallest rosters, right? So how do you two feel about the fact that maybe because of the smaller roster size that affords those players to have more autonomy, more control over their careers versus maybe some of the other major sports leagues?
Well, I do want to bring this up. The approved salary cap is $123 million for next season. But you're looking at players who signed max extensions for almost $40 million. One player making $40 million. That's a third of the salary cap. Then I believe it's 15 players have to be on your roster that you're paying. I don't know if that includes two-way players or anything else. But you're looking to fill out the roster. The $80 million you have left, obviously you need other stars.
Well, yeah. Well, yes, and also to go along with the salary cap, sometimes, if and I stated this before, if something does not go within a player's way, and take Vince Carter as an example, he was dominant within his first few seasons with the Raptors, but then his last 2 seasons, he demanded a trade but was denied it, So what did he do in response? He self-sabotaged, the organization itself, was not playing well. So that was his only way out, to self-sabotage, the team, in order for him to get the trade. And then once he was on the Nets, he was back to being the superstar, back to being the half man, half amazing guy again. Take that as an example.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, obviously, management does have a big impact on it. They probably should have given the trade, but it's not their job to have to make the move that the player wants. Don't forget, the players work for management. They obviously can do whatever they want. Management could obviously say to Kevin Durant, who is basically today's player that we're all focusing on, and say, no, we will not move you. You weren't going to play here like you signed the contract. You signed that dotted line that says we have control over you.
Well, yes, and also, and why do you think a lot of Raptors fans despise a Vince Carter nowadays? And the same thing can be said from Celtics fans towards Kyrie Irving. Because
it absolutely could, but don't forget, Kyrie Irving didn't want to trade. He said he loved Boston, but then ultimately pulled an audible on free agency and did a sign and trade. I wouldn't say that's him wanting out of Boston. I think it's just him finding a better opportunity to go play elsewhere.
Yeah, especially with Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant actually did the same thing. He had such a powerful team in OKC. He had Westbrook along his side, but then a door opened up along his side.
2-minute warning.
He pretty much stabbed OKC in the back to go and join Steph Curry and Draymond Green, and win 2 championships with Golden State, as well as 2 MVPs, and also from this past season, we saw ourselves, that Golden State didn't need players like Kyrie Irving, while the Celtics didn't need him, and especially Golden State didn't need Kevin Durant because they had the players within themselves.
No, that's true. I just want to continue about my Brooklyn Nets tangent here. Brooklyn Nets have had a very, very bad offseason. Their draft was horrendous. They pretty much lost out on a pick this year that they said we'll take next year and let the 76ers get better. They had the Kyrie Irving drama where saying that he was about going to seek a trade to get out of Brooklyn. Then you had the Kevin Durant saga. All that distractions has basically made it so they haven't had an offseason. Sure, they went out and traded for Rose O'Neal, but they sent away a first-round pick for a player who was going to be, at best,
30
in
seconds.
my opinion, a guy who will play off the bench. He is not a starter. They went inside T.J. Warren to honestly a really solid deal for one of the most underrated players in the NBA, who, yes, has been injured, but can still be very solid and produce. But the fact is they haven't gotten their team better, and that's because of just the amount of distractions being laid out by two players who are basically seeking trades to get out of a team. These are two players that are making it tough on management because they have to focus on them as well to make sure that they're able to get back what they want for the two players. The Brooklyn Nets could have had a great offseason, help build more players around Durant and Irving, and Simmons, if you count him as well, but I don't know if you can call him a star anymore.
All right, I gotta stop it there. Gentlemen. Thank you all. Thank you both for the Crossfire segment. Wolmer, I'll invite you to go on mute. AJ, you can have your 2-minute closing statement, and it starts now.
Okay, thank you. Powerful statements from you, Wolmer. But as I stated before, sometimes if things do not go within these players' way, they will go out and find their own ways to get out of their situation from what they are in, within the teams, And you can see it from like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he was everything that you would want within a player, He was an MVP within his second season and an NBA champion, the best player in the NBA at that time. But what was his problem that made his way out of the Bucks? After missing the playoffs within the next 2 years, and him not, and like with other players not keeping up with how he played, with his stance in the NBA. That's why he wanted out, and like most of these players nowadays wanted to play for like high profile teams, such as like the Lakers, the Knicks, maybe even Golden State, and like where all the high profile players are. So that's why we saw Kareem 45 Abdul-Jabbar
seconds.
go within the team within the Lakers, because that's why he settled for the Lakers. And then the icing on the cake, Kevin Durant. You can say that the way how he you can say that off season for him changed the way how free agency worked for the NBA. Signs with Golden State, wins 2 MVPs, wins 2 championships. In this past season, we saw it for ourselves.
All right, AJ, and I have to stop you there. Thank you for that closing statement. You can go on mute for me, please. Yeah, you're welcome. And Wolmer, you can come off of mute, my friend, and your 2-minute closing statement starts now.
David, please give me a warning when there's 20 seconds to go, if you don't mind.
Will do.
Thank you. All right, so just to wrap it all up, it's just the fact that players have too much power over management. You'll consistently see players want out of their team, a team in which they committed to in the first place and could have went elsewhere just for their own personal reasons. I mean, there's just too many times where players will sign for all this money, say that we're going to be happy here, help bring a team together, and then all of a sudden want out. This is exactly what Kevin Durant is doing right now. We have seen many other players do it, not just Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving is another player that is happening right now. Kawhi Leonard was another player I brought up. And it's not only in the NBA, it's in the MLB. It's in the NHL. Jake DeBrusk wanted to trade from the Boston Bruins and never materialized, and he did rescind his trade request because he was actually happier with how he was getting the changes in his ice time. But it's not just the NBA, it's every sport. And once a player wants out and he gets his request, it's going to be a chain effect that's basically going to tell other players that they're not committed to building a winning team and possibly pulling everything together. Eventually, when Kevin Durant does get his move, the Brooklyn Nets are going to have to hope that the return is going to be good enough that will help them continue winning and help build up the future. The team that is going to be trading for Kevin Durant now is going to be a team that's going to want to win now, They are going to sacrifice their future if it means they are able to lift that trophy above their heads when June comes, or the end of May, based on how fast the NBA playoffs move. But the fact is, management is just in so much stress throughout this whole entire process that it's going to make them look like cowards. The Brooklyn Nets management staff is going to look like cowards once this is all over. Because don't forget, James Harden wanted a trade out of Brooklyn last season, and he was granted it.
20 seconds.
All right. I'm going to throw away the rest of my time here. Just going to throw a quick plug. Make sure to tune into MLB tonight, tomorrow night, MLB Network. I'm pretty sure that a lot of my edits tomorrow at work will make it live on television.
Awesome. And congrats again, Wolmer, on getting that position, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that 20-second warning. I wanted to throw a quick shameless plug in there.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Congratulations.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
Okay, let me go ahead and get this voting link back in here. Thought I had it copied. My apologies. And
S-tier shameless plug, yes. Yes.
It was an S-tier shameless plug. Okay, link is in the chat. Voting is now open. Disregard the descriptions. Just say if you're for Wolmer or for Adrian. I tried my best to capture you guys what your stances were. Appreciate you guys again for rolling with the punches. Okay, let's see here. Ooh, wow. Okay. All right, we're tied at 5 with about a minute 15 left to go in voting. Remember, votes, for those of you all that might not be familiar with our tiebreaker, we don't have a tiebreaker anymore. Debates can't end in ties. So if this holds at 5-5, which it has to because somehow we got 10 listeners, 10 votes, but we only have 8 listeners. So I'm going to call that here because we shouldn't get any more votes. So this is going to end in a draw, which is good because you both are actually friends in real life, correct, Wolmer and AJ?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, so awesome. I see another vote came in, but I'm not gonna count that because again we have more votes than we have listeners here. So this is ending in a draw. So congrats to you both on what was a very nice spirited debate, and we're going to call the show there. So I'll just close out by just thanking again everyone for listening tonight. I want to give a special thank you to Wolmer and AJ as well as Jake, RCMilton, Brett, Calvin for lending their talents and voices this evening. You'll be able to find this episode on all podcast platforms and YouTube.